Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks. Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Continuing Education, Certificate Programs, Certificate in Apparel Merchandising, CAPMER, BHC-05 Basics of Apparel Industry and Entrepreneurship, Block -2, Unit 7, Concept of FDI, and Introduction. 7.0 Objectives. Foreign direct investment, FDI, considered as one of the most important contributors for the growth of economy of any nation, has recently gained attention due to increased FDI's flow all over the world. This unit aims to understand the concept and implications of FDI on an economy, analyze the economic impact of FDI on Indian apparel market, and learn about the current policies and their effect on Indian apparel retail. 7.1 Introduction. FDI has been a focal point and one of the biggest junctures for the Indian economic reforms. After a long and extensive discussion on FDI, majority of the people related directly or indirectly to retail sector have accepted its social and economic implications positively. FDI is the cross-border investment made by an individual or a firm in one country into business operations located in another country. It is a source of bringing private funds from overseas into product or service sector of a country with the controlling ownership to the investing foreign organization. So, with FDI, the foreign investors not only invest money but also bring with them the required knowledge, skills and technology and are involved in day-to-day operations of the company. In other words, FDI is the investment on the assets used in the organization of domestic market. This excludes the investments made in the stock market. For example, an American company taking major stake in a company in India. Their return on investment, ROI, is based on the performance of the project. FDI is critical for emerging markets and developing countries, as these countries do not have enough capital to invest in infrastructure, power, and other fundamental aspects crucial for the growth of an economy. In the past decades, FDI was concerned only with highly industrialized countries. France, Greece, Iceland, Poland, Slovak Republic, Switzerland and Turkey have a positive record in FDI investments. Only a very limited share of FDI went to developing countries and that too was unevenly distributed. But the scenario changed markedly over time. There has been a rapid increase in FDI in the past 2 decades, particularly for developing countries. This is because of the following reasons. Availability of cheap labor. Uninterrupted availability of raw material. Less production cost compared with developed countries. Quick and easy market penetration. According to the World Investment Report 2019 published by UNCTAD, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, developing countries received more than half, 54%, of total global FDI in 2018 while FDI flows declined sharply in developed countries. 7.2 FDI, a driver for growth of Indian economy. In 1990, Indian government opened its trade to other countries, i.e. liberalization happened in India. FDI was introduced in 1991 by the then Finance Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. Many global players showed their interest to invest in the country. Foreign brands have many routes to enter into a country. The brands may export or invest within the country and operate. Brands prefer investment in FDI as it is considered to be the most convenient route as they have a direct control over optimum utilization of funds. The government also prefers FDI arrangement due to its advantages like no debt creating money and the return is based on the performance of the project in the market. The investing organization puts in its best for succeeding by investing heavily on the infrastructure and human resource. Besides this, each brand creates competition for other similar brands. This helps consumers in getting the best value for money. This also gives the high-paying consumers an opportunity to experience newer offerings. They are able to avail lifestyle products and services and hence the consumption pattern of the economy improves. As already discussed in Unit 1 of this block, Indian retail is one of the most crucial and dynamic sectors for the growth of our economy. It is growing exponentially due to several factors. Refer Section 1.4, Unit 1, Block 1, Cause 1, favoring its growth. Growing participation from foreign players has further given a boost to the Indian retail industry. Global retailers such as Walmart, Gap, Tesco and JCPenney are increasing their sourcing from India and are moving from third-party buying offices to establishing their own wholly owned/wholly managed sourcing and buying offices. Indian retail industry is a unique combination of organized and unorganized sector. Refer Section 16.3, Unit 4, Block 1, Cause 1. What makes it even more dynamic is its growth pattern. The Indian retail industry has undergone many changes in terms of its size and growth over the past few years. Despite of this, the industry has been promising for the Indian government and foreign investors. Organized retail penetration increased to 18% in 2021 from an estimated 9% in 2017, according to IBEF, January 2019. Strengthening and support for the organized retail sector has been the core focus area of the Indian government, and many meaningful reforms have been introduced by the government to attract FDI in retail industry. In 2012, 51% and 100% FDI have been approved by the government in multi-brand retail and single-brand retail respectively. Government has also allowed 100% FDI in e-commerce. All these moves are favorable for the growth of the Indian retail sector, as these will escalate the ease of doing business and support Make in India program initiated by the Indian government. Goods and Services Tax (GST) is another one of the major structural reforms introduced by the Indian government to boost foreign investments in India. For investors to be successful in India, they must well understand the dynamics of the Indian retail market. 7.3 Impact of FDI on Indian apparel industry. With a growing economy, India has become a dream market for most marketers across product segments, and apparel is one of the fastest growing industries witnessing rapid increase and expansion. Refer Section 1.4, Unit 1, Block 1, Cause 1. This expansion has not happened overnight. In fact, it took years for the industry to stand where it is today, and the credit goes to the various policy reforms introduced by the government towards making India a favorable sourcing and retail destination. Allowing up to 100% FDI in single-brand retail and 51% in multi-brand retail proved favorable for the apparel industry, as the small and medium enterprises (SMEs) supply in large quantities to the apparel industry, and they benefited with more international brands foraying into India. Until 2018, single-brand retailers with over 51% FDI were required to source 30% of the value of goods from India's part of the policy, and it gave them the benefit of shorter lead times and lower costs. However, in 2019, the Indian government further relaxed their local sourcing norms and allowed the single-brand retailers with FDI to sell their goods online much before setting up their brick-and-mortar stores in India. This gave a boost to India's retail sector, and big foreign brands like Under Armour, Uniqlo forayed into the Indian apparel retail market in 2019. The expansion of the Indian apparel market has not only benefited the consumers but the manufacturers as well. The fashion-conscious consumers look for variety, quality and value for money products, which has been taken care of by numerous brands available in the market. Also, the large foreign retailers bring with them their best practices in the supply chain, manufacturing, product design and quality that helps the small enterprises and manufacturers to upgrade their technology and skills to fulfill their requirements. Indian retailers are very hopeful of substantial investment offers from fashion brands in the coming years. This will surely stimulate India's domestic demand, and also huge investments can be utilized to improve the supply chain. This has the potential of making Indian textile and clothing industry even more competitive. Markets will diversify the product mix further, thereby creating new or enhanced opportunities to export more out of India. However, there may be a few retailers who may look at the Indian domestic market with a different view due to the overall slowdown in the economic conditions, where the consumers become careful and price sensitive. The pricing pressures will continue in the coming years, but there is a very steady rise in demand across all product categories, and this trend will continue. As far as market development is concerned, women's wear is estimated to be the most promising category. Other categories, which may also flourish, are denim fabric-based clothing, jeans, skirts, and shirts, and children's wear. The demand growth is expected to be evenly spread across the length and breadth of India, and will be strong both in urban as well as rural markets. Another phenomenon, which will have an unstoppable growth, is e-commerce. Globally, clothing is now the largest category, which is sold online by value. There are many technologies which have been started to be adapted by the retailers for e-commerce platforms. These technologies also improve brick-and-mortar retail shopping for clothing. For example, haptics is a technology which is capable of delivering touch and feel experience to the consumers on their digital devices such as phones and tablets. It is expected to become a very common medium within the next 3 to 5 years. Sophisticated online size measurement applications, virtual trial rooms, ability to get peer group referrals on the virtually tried garments, and highly advanced analytics are the advanced technologies which will enhance the customer's confidence in online shopping for clothes compared to what the most successful brick-and-mortar retailer can offer today. With this kind of pace of technological advancement, some of the most iconic global and Indian brick-and-mortar retailers could become history or could shift totally to online mode by the end of next decade. This will follow a grassroots change in the new set of customers who will have new needs for supply chain and buying characteristics. The retailers who will adapt to these changing needs will be the winning players in the market. With such transformational changes in the offering for the entire textile and clothing industry, including the entire value chain and touching just about every aspect of business including production, distribution, branding, and retail, the next decade promises to be a truly exciting one. It also promises to offer countless new opportunities for current players and would-be entrepreneurs who choose to accept and adapt to these changes. 7.4 Benefits and Challenges of FDI. Benefits of FDI. The investor and the recipient nation can benefit from FDI in many ways. 1. Creates investment opportunities. The foreign investment enables the local retailers to upgrade systems and infrastructure with the support of international retailers. For example, joint venture between Marks & Spencer and Tata has enabled the Indian partner to venture into the market deeper with improved profitability. 2. Consumers' delight. The newer international players in the market have created a competitive environment for the customers. They are able to get the most competitive prices and services in the market. 3. Improved supply chain. A huge investment on the back-end operations has helped in creating an overall improvement in the supply chain management system. Technology is one area which has been the driving force for this improvement. This has led to an extremely efficient system with minimum wastage. 4. Competitive offerings. This change has proved to be most beneficial for the consumers as they are able to get wide and open choice amongst the Indian and international brands. The retailers have to compete in terms of quality as well as quantity. 5. Ensures economic growth and prosperity. FDI is the best form of foreign investment as the challenge to establishing the business rests on retailers' shoulders. The economy gets maximum benefit at minimum risk. 6. Creates employment opportunities. The expansion of retail brands into new geographies creates employment opportunities. Organized retailing in India suffers with low investment practices on HR. The international brands offer better HR policies. This will improve the overall hum system for other Indian brands also. Challenges of FDI. FDI has been perceived as a threat by the unorganized retailers, farmers and consumers. They think that big retailers will capture the market share of the smaller Indian players. FDI poses the following major threats to the domestic retailers in India. 1. Increase of organized retailing. The contribution of organized retailing in India is much lower than unorganized retailing. But, with FDI increasing its base, organized retail will increase and will take away the market share of unorganized retail as organized retailers are able to provide better products and services which are impossible for the unorganized and smaller players to match. 2. Fear of losing jobs. Retail in India is the second largest employer. Most of the foreign players are practicing to source directly from the manufacturer, which will cause redundancy of middleman, thereby taking away their jobs permanently. 3. Increased competition for Indian retailers. The Indian retailers who are still struggling with the infrastructural difficulties are finding it difficult to cope up with the pressure of evolved systems of the international giants. To sustain the challenges, they will have to explore investment opportunities. 4. Adverse effect on rental and real estate cost. With large number of investments, there is always a fear of appreciation of real estate prices which will adversely affect the existing players. 5. Threat to cultural heritage. The influence of Western culture through their fashion may affect our culture adversely. The rich craft and cultural heritage of India may have to struggle to grow. In text activity 1. Study the success story of Marks & Spencer and write about its penetration into the Indian retail market. Check your progress. 1. 1. What is FDI? Why is it considered critical for developing nations? 2. List any 2 advantages and challenges of FDI for Indian retailers. 7.5 Regulatory scenario of FDI in apparel retail. The huge evolving and time-deficient consumer base of India and the growing demand for apparel and fashion accessories has attracted attention of almost all the corporate retailers towards Indian market. Despite initial reluctance, most of the international players have plans to expand their market in India. This is largely attributed to government's FDI policy and significant reforms in FDI policy in retail trade that have given a boost to apparel retail in India. According to the current policies of Indian government, international retailers have the following retail options available for the Indian market as stated in Table 7.1, which also gives a snapshot of the FDI allowed by the Government of India for various types of retail. Table 7.1 Government Policy for FDI in Retail. Look at the screen for table content. The FDI policy is certainly a welcoming opportunity for foreign retailers, but it also imposes several terms and conditions for foreign players like mandatory sourcing of a certain percentage of goods from MSMEs, micro, small and medium enterprises, and some investment in the back-end infrastructure. These policies come with the following riders. Single brand retailers involving foreign investment beyond 51% will have to source 30% locally every year, preferably from MSMEs, village and cottage industries, artisans and craftsmen, in all sectors, even though 100% FDI is allowed in the sector. This procurement requirement would have to be met, in the first instance, as an average of 5 years total value of the goods purchased, beginning 1st April of the year of the commencement of the business, i.e. opening of the first store. Thereafter, it would have to be met on an annual basis. Minimum amount to be brought in, as FDI, by the foreign investor, under multi-brand retailing would be $100 million. At least 50% of total FDI brought in the first portion of $100 million shall be invested in back-end infrastructure within 3 years, where back-end infrastructure will include capital expenditure on all activities that will include processing, manufacturing, distribution, quality control, packaging, warehousing, etc. Minus 100% FDI under automatic route is permitted in marketplace model of e-commerce and not in inventory-based model of e-commerce. FDI has come with many challenges for the domestic retailers as well. The small retailers are already preparing to rework the strategies and give good fight to the new players, anticipating that they will have to face tough competition from the bigger players. However, they have an advantage of being close to the customers, which will be a major challenge for the newcomers. In the process, the customers will experience reforms and innovation in services and benefits. There is enough space for both the small as well as big players to operate in India, and both verticals are expected to grow at a constant pace. There are 2 entry routes for FDI in India. 1. Automatic route. Under this route, the foreign investor or the Indian company does not require any approval from Reserve Bank or Government of India for investment. 2. Government route. Under the government route, prior approval of the Government of India is required and proposals are considered by the government agencies or bodies specified. 1. Cash and carry wholesaling. These are large B2B, refer Section 5.2, Unit 5, Block 2, Cos 1, focused retail formats. In this format, the wholesaler buys in bulk and targets to sell the products in bulk to smaller retailers. Here the retailers have to register with the wholesaler to avail the advantages of low prices with some limit on the minimum pickup quantity. It is a self-service and instant payment facility. The member retailers get quantity and loyalty benefits against their current and past purchases. In India, major players operating in the cash and carry format are Metro, Bharti Walmart Private Limited and Tesco. 2. Exclusive or single brand retail. In this format, the retailer either manufactures or sources the products under a single brand name and sells them domestically or internationally under the same name. Examples of this category are Nike, Sony, Liberty, Nokia, etc. 3. Multi-brand retail. This is a format where the store or any other retail format sells more than one brand for single category of product. The customer comes with an objective of choosing from a wide variety of options for the product he or she wishes to buy. Examples in this category are Max, Shoppers Stop, Planet, Fashion, etc. 4. E-commerce. It means buying and selling of goods and services over digital and electronic network. Refer Unit 4, Block 2, Cos 1. Impact of FDI policies on the organized, unorganized and online retail sector of India. The retail sector in India is dominated by the unorganized sector that has its own inherent strengths. Refer Section 4.3, Unit 4, Block 2, Cos 1, which is impossible for the organized sector to match. But the organized sector is also growing at a fast pace due to the changing demographic and economic profiles of the Indian consumer. So Indian consumers have their buying criterion attached to both organized and unorganized sectors. They find it easy to buy from traditional formats due to advantages like proximity from home, credit facility, low prices, bargaining, etc. Modern retailers, on the other hand, are preferred for their ambience, one-stop shopping and greater variety and assortments that they offer. In this whole scenario, the traditional retail may see a threat from foreign brands, but they are here to stay for long as consumers prefer both, and they have been the major beneficiaries of this change. The organized retail trade in India, however, is on a steady growth path and is expected to grow in the times ahead. Organized retailers have welcomed the openness in FDI policies. The investments bring forward opportunities for expansion and upgradation of their existing to the much advanced systems of modern retailing. All the Indian business houses have capitalized on this opportunity in some way or the other. Easing of local sourcing norms for FDI in single-brand retail will encourage foreign businesses to set up their wholly owned entities in India. Implementation of GST is another major reform brought about by the current government of India, making the industry much more competitive than many other developed countries. GST tax policy has been the most innovative tax reform so far. It is a one-point taxation system replacing 17 multiple taxes. It has impacted the retail industry favorably at different points. The big retailers have reflected big benefits from this change. Almost all the states have removed their checkposts. This has led to a smoother movement of goods. The distribution of goods has become easier. The back-end activities of the value chain have become hassle-free. Scope of involving multiple vendors and locations has increased. Procurement of raw material has become easier. Rentals are the biggest expense in retail operations, and due to GST all the retailers have been able to save on the rentals. It has eased the process of opening new ventures and has attracted FDI into the country. The government is also looking at increasing the FDI limit to 100% for multi-brand retail if the foreign retailers sell goods which are made in India. Check your progress. 2. 1. How would FDI be helpful in the overall development of India? 2. What would be the impact of FDI on the consumers of apparel retail sector? 7.6. Let us sum up. Foreign direct investment has been the most significant change for the Indian retail sector. This change has received a mixed response from the domestic retail market and various state governments. But most of the retailers, especially the international players, are welcoming this change and are eyeing on the Indian market. Due to its inherent qualities, Indian market is becoming a preferred choice for international expansion. The ruling government has been extremely positive about opening up of FDI, especially in multi-brand retailing. The government might plan to allow 100% FDI in multi-brand retail that will bring further growth in the market, like increased foreign currency inflow, upgradation of back-end activities of transportation and handling of the stock, supply chain infrastructure, more employment opportunities for youth, growth of small and medium-scale industries, etc. This will also lead to better services and competitive prices for the customers in India. Currently, the regulatory authorities have allowed 100% FDI in single brand, 100% FDI in cash and carry, 100% FDI in e-commerce and 51% in multi-brand retailing. The Indian retailers, however, are very apprehensive as this may force them to close their businesses. But the industry experts are confident that the existing retail businesses have their own inherent advantages, hence will grow consistently along with the modern retail formats. The smaller players are also trying to correct their basics to face the unforeseen challenges. In this overhauling of the sector, customers are gaining the maximum advantage. 7.7 Keywords. Cash and carry. A cash and carry business is a form of trade within the retailing wholesale sector, which means that the goods are provided at an optimum price but with minimal conveniences. Example of a cash and carry business is Bharti Walmart's operations in India, wherein they are providing quality products at wholesale prices but require that the customers do most of the work in obtaining and carrying away their purchases. Liberalization. Liberalization refers to the laws or rules being liberalized or relaxed by the government. Logistics. Smooth management of business operations such as pickup, storage, transportation and delivery of goods along the supply chain. GST. It is an indirect tax on the supply of goods and services, right from the manufacturer to the consumer. Multi-brand. It is a retail format in which the retailer can sell multiple brands retailing for a single category of product. Reform. To make changes in something for improvement. Single brand. In this format, the retailer either manufactures or sources the retailing products under a single brand name and sells them domestically or internationally under the same name. Supply chain. It describes a channel stretching from raw materials to components to final products that are carried to the final buyers. For example, supply chain for women's purses starts with hides that moves through tanning operations, cutting operations, manufacturing, and then the marketing channels, bringing the products to the customers. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video with the next chapter.